Hello, I am Víctor Paredes. I am the product manager of Moho, and I want to show you how to quickly create frame-by-frame animation in Moho. So first, we have a new file here, and you need to create a new frame-by-frame layer. So to do that, you just go here and click on frame-by-frame. Okay, so this is the frame-by-frame layer. You can name it whatever you want. I want to name mine like that. Alright, so this is my I didn't type too many letters there, but anyway, I have my frame by frame animation, and now in this frame by frame layer you can just draw using the freehand tool. Okay, so with the freehand tool you can hold Alt and drag right or left to define the size of the tool, so you can just draw there. You can also, I just undo that. You can also go to advanced in the style window and select any style you want or any brush if you want. So let's say I'll just use rough ink here. So we are still drawing vectors, but these vectors are done using this style. So I'm just drawing that, and I can also edit the points here. So I can use the transform point tool to edit the points. I can use the curvature tool to edit the curvature. I can use the line width tool to modify the line width at any point. So I have a lot of control here, and you can also use the magnet mode here, the magnet tool. So again, with Alt and dragging right or left, you can define the size of the magnet, and in this case the magnet is activated for selected points only. I will uncheck that, so now I can modify that with the magnet, so I can basically move several points at the same time. Okay, in a smooth way. So let's suppose I want this, and maybe I will scale it down. Alright, there. Okay, so I am on frame 0 now. So if I want to add a new frame, I can just go to any frame here, and I can press the add or the new frame button here at the corner. So that will create a new keyframe. And you can see this keyframe is a bit darker than the previous one. And this is darker because this keyframe is, at the moment, it is empty because I haven't drawn anything. So as soon as I draw something, another circle here, you can see this keyframe now, it's lighter, okay? So now I have two keyframes here. I can move between them, and I can go to any other frame and add another keyframe there, alright? So now I have this. I can move the keyframes by just dragging them. I can make a keyframe appear before the other one by just dragging them, and a keyframe is visible until a next keyframe appears. So for instance, if I want to hold this keyframe until frame 33, I can just add a new keyframe on frame 33. So now this will be empty, for instance, and now if I want to create something new, I can add a new keyframe here and now create something new. So I just created some empty space here. Okay, if I want to retime my animation, I can select all the keyframes and I can hold Alt on the keyboard, so I can scale them. So if I drag the last frame, I can just scale them up or down. So now everything is working, is moving faster here. You can also push frames. So with these little buttons here, you can set the amount you want to push. So maybe say 4 frames, and then I can just push all this, and this is going to push the entire animation. And I can push back, but pushing back will also only move the keyframes until they hit another keyframe. You can see it won't move anymore. So you can define how many keyframes you push. So this works to retime your animation too. Alright, now we have an interval here too. So if I add a new frame, let's say I will add a new frame here, and now you can see I have a number 1 here. If I want to animate on 2s, I can just select 2 here, and now I can press this button again, and it will create a new keyframe 2 frames after that one. So if I press it again, it will create another one 2 frames after that. So I can just start drawing and it will be moving on 2s there. Alright, so if I want to animate on 3s or 4, I can just, or 5s, I can just do that, and it will create frames it will create keyframes 5 frames after that. Now the new frame button has a shortcut too. You can add new frames pressing F5 on the keyboard, so you don't need to constantly go back to here. You can just press F5 at any frame and then you can just draw something. Alright, so now we have this beautiful animation here. If you want to remove a frame, you can just press this delete frame button. So now I just deleted that. If I copy a keyframe, for instance, I like this, let's say I will draw some ears here. So this is my character, so I really like it. So I want to copy this keyframe, so I will press Ctrl C and paste it here. So now I have the same character, but this is actually a copy, it's a different copy. So if I draw something different here, that difference is not going to appear in the previous frame. So they are totally independent now. If you want to clone a keyframe, what you can do is you can see, hold the mouse over it and you can see the number of the keyframe. So in this case, this one is called layer 6. Okay. So then I can go to any other frame. So for instance here, and I can right click the frame by frame layer and I can select layer 6 here. So now you can see I have the same frame here, but actually if I draw something here, let's say I draw this here, that drawing is also going to appear in the previous layer. And if I want to know which layers are these, maybe I can select both and select a color here, a label color. So maybe they are both going to be orange, so I know they are the same. So that will make easier to know that if I make any change here or anything, let me just texture that there, it will also appear here. Alright, and with this button I can duplicate the current frame. So for instance, this is the current frame. I can just press duplicate here and now I can draw into that duplicated frame. So I can, if I press duplicate several times, I can continue working on that. Alright, and it will duplicate duplicate it on 5, so I will set this to once just to be sure everything is working. But this is how you work with this. One of the nice things, and I have another tutorial for this, but is since we are using a style, we are using the rough ink style, I can open that style here at the top. So I can select rough ink and now I can edit that style. So for instance, if I click on this checkbox, I can set a different thickness for the entire animation. So now if I check the animation, everything has a different thickness. Or if I check here, I can change the color. So maybe I want something red and with more alpha. So now all the animation will have that red and alpha because I'm using that style and I am modifying that style. And I can even change the brush. So if I click here, I can change to another brush. So let's say I want this brush instead, and I can change also the options of this brush. So let's say I want this. So now everything is moving with that. All right, now I didn't do anything here. It's all very ugly, but let me show you a better frame by frame animation here. I think it is this one actually. I will just open this frame by frame animation. So here you have the ballerina moving here. Right, and it is also using the styles. So if I select a shape of this, you can see this is all done with vectors. So if I show the paths here, you can see I can actually edit those vectors too. So I can edit the curvature, the line width, even the color. And if I want to edit the color of all of them at the same time, I can see that this is the style they are using. It is wash. So I can go here, go to wash here, and then I can change again the thickness, or I can change the color if I want. So maybe I want it blue like that. I am doing that. Alright, maybe it's too thick, so I want it thinner like that. So I have that animation happening there. Now, if you want to navigate between frames of the frame by frame animation, you can hold Alt on the keyboard and press X to go to the next frame, or press Z to go to the previous one. Okay, now if you see here, I have some keyframes that they have a color label. So with these color labels, you can set what keyframes are important. So maybe this one is also going to be green. So I have several keyframes that are green. And if you want to navigate between those labeled keyframes, in this case I used green, but it can be any color. If you want to navigate between them, you can hold Alt and W to go to the next one, and Alt and Q to go to the previous one. So you can navigate between whatever keyframe you consider important. So it can be a keyframe, a breakdown, or whatever you are doing here. So you have these shortcuts here. And I think that's all. No, I have some other tools, sorry. If you want to paint something, we have several options. I showed this in other tutorials, but I will show you this here too. If you want to fill something, you can draw and fill at the same time. So if you select the Freehand tool, you can select autofill, and then you are drawing. Oh, let me change the color. This is black. Actually, let me just set none for the styles, and I will change the color here. Okay, so it's going to be maybe not white, maybe it's going to be a bit like blue. Alright, so when I have auto stroke and autofill on, whatever I draw will have a fill, so I can just draw and fill. Okay, so that will create a single shape there. Let me undo that. We also have multi-stroke fill, so you can draw several lines and they will be added to this fill. So you can just continue adding stuff like that, and then you have that. And if you want to finish that shape, you can press escape, and then you can start a new shape. So let's say I want to finish this shape here, so I press escape, and now I can continue with another one. Alright, now this kind of drawing, let me just remove this because it's too ugly. This kind of drawing needs to be done in order. So if I do this line and end this line here, I need to start the next line here. So if I end this one here, I need to start here. So if for any reason I start at the other extreme, you will get some weird results like this. Alright, because you need to draw in order with this tool. Let me now just remove that. And I will uncheck the multi-stroke fill, and I will uncheck the autofill. So what I want to show you is that you can also draw something. So let me just create several lines here. Okay, and then you can, if you want to fill this, you can use the paint bucket, but also we have the create shape tool, which is this one. And with this tool you can select, in this case I'm using the lasso mode, so I'm just selecting like this, but you can also have the rectangular mode. Okay, but with the lasso mode I will select at least one point of each line I want to fill. So in this case I want to fill this, so I just need to be sure that I have at least one point selected, all of these lines, and then I can connect and create, and that will automatically create a fill for that. Alright, so you can draw stuff, and this is too thick, but you can draw stuff like that, and then just use the connect and fill, and just, you don't need to select all of them, you just need to be sure at least one point is selected for each line. So now you have the fill there. Alright, so you can paint that way. Let me just remove this. You can also use the blob brush, which is this one, and with the blob brush you can select auto stroke or not. You can merge all the strokes you create, so you can just paint with this, and this is going to create a fill. So you can see this is all a vector with a fill created. Okay, and I can also use the blob brush and create auto stroke, so wherever I draw will also have a stroke. I can paint with that. Of course, everything here can be edited. Okay, so I can change the curvature, the line width, the brush, anything. I just created a new file here because I want to show you also that with the blob brush you can draw something, then you can draw some lines on top of it in any way you want, and then you can use the eraser tool, so you can erase both. You can see how it is working and it is erasing both here. And also, if you select a shape, let's say you want to erase things only from the fill, but you don't want to erase the line, you can just select that fill with the select shape tool. And now you can go to the eraser and you can erase here, and you can see that I am only erasing the fill but not the line. Okay, and the opposite, if I select the lines here, maybe there, and use the eraser, now the eraser will only erase the line but not the fill or not anything else. So you can do that too. So those are the tools you can use here. Just as a reminder, if you want to move the canvas, you can hold right click, or you can hold spacebar and move the mouse, drag the mouse there. If you want to zoom in or zoom out, you can hold shift on the keyboard and right click on the pen or on the mouse and just drag right or left, or you can hold spacebar, shift, and just drag the mouse left or right. So you have all those options. If you want to reset the view, you can simply press home on the keyboard and that will reset the view. Now, if you don't want to use the keyboard, you can always go to any of the workspace tools, so for instance the zoom tool, and reset the view from it. If you don't want to see the vectors here, you are seeing the vectors, you can also always hide the vectors here. So now the points are not visible, the shapes are still visible, and the strokes, everything is still visible, but not the vectors. Alright, I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.